Explosions were heard in Jerusalem as two bombs went off in different locations, injuring multiple people. The Likud party released a list of its demands in the ongoing coalition negotiations, and the negotiations for the government seem to have been pushed back to ground zero. And Iran is blaming Israel for the assassination of one of its senior commanders. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys. Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Make sure to like the video, also subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of the episodes of the Israel Guys. Also follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We just hit 20,000 followers on Facebook, so we want to say thank you to all you guys who are following us there. We can get some confetti up on the screen here. Also, make sure to check out our second YouTube channel. It's called Hayovel Israel Volunteers, where we're bringing you updates from the fields where we're working here in the agriculture of Judea and Samaria. So just this morning, there were two bombings. It's crazy. Two bombings at two different Jerusalem bus stops. One person was killed at this point. As at recording time, it was reported that one person was killed and 18 more injured in a pair of terrorist bombing attacks at bus stops in Jerusalem. According to Jewish Breaking News, both bombs were actually activated remotely by phone. The charges included heavy amounts of shrapnel nails to maximize casualties. And the same terror cell is behind both explosions, so the attacks were coordinated together. The first explosion was on Syria, Yerushalayim Street, and in this attack, at least 12 people were injured, including 2 in critical condition, 2 also in a little bit more of a serious condition. The injured were evacuated to 3 different Jerusalem hospitals, and sadly, one of the victims, who was initially listed in critical condition, after he was brought to the hospital, he later succumbed to his wounds and was pronounced dead. The MDA, which stands for Magen David Adom, the ambulance service, they said, quote, at 7:06 a.m., MDA's Jerusalem District 101 call center received a report of multiple injuries as a result of an explosion next to a bus stop on Syria, Yerushalayim Street in Jerusalem. So this was the first attack. And then about 30 minutes after this first bombing, a second explosion was reported in the neighborhood of Ramot. 3 people were injured as a result of this second bombing. After the second attack, United Hatzalah, another ambulance servants, 2 of their EMTs, Danny Shmueli and Yossi Eisenstein, they were at the remote incident. They said, quote, while driving in the area on our emergency ambucycles, they have motorcycles basically that can get to the scene of attacks or accidents a lot faster than ambulances, so they call them ambucycles. We heard the explosion, which happened at a bus stop. We arrived within mere seconds at the scene and provided assistance to 3 people who sustained light injuries from shrapnel. A United Hatzalah ambulance evacuated one of the injured to the hospital. Israel Police Commissioner Yaakov Shabtai visited one of the scenes and held a situation assessment with Jerusalem Police District head Doron Turgeman. He said, quote, this is a type of attack that we haven't seen for many years. He also called on the Israeli police to be on the alert for suspicious packages which could contain bombs. Also, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz, as it was reported that he was holding an emergency assessment with Shin Bet chief, deputy IDF chief, and also other senior military officials, along with police officials. Prime Minister Yair Lapid was also convened another critical assessment, or he's planning on convening a critical assessment with officials at 12 o'clock, which is in just a few hours. He said, quote, our goal is to prevent another explosion, and our forces are working to identify those who are responsible for the explosions. Prime Minister-designate Benjamin Netanyahu said in response to the attack that he is, quote, praying to the health of the injured people in the coordinated terror attack in Jerusalem this morning and send my support to the security forces who are operating on the ground. It was reported that the Israeli police was searching for the attackers all around Jerusalem and that they actually arrested a few suspects. There will be more reports coming out soon along those lines. MK Itamar Ben-Gvir a little bit later arrived at the scene of the attack, and he said, quote, "We need to exact a heavy price from terrorism, return to targeted killings, and restore deterrence and order. We must form a government as soon as possible." And guys, already Hamas has already congratulated the attackers, and they are rejoicing that there was yet another Jew killed in the land of Israel. They rejoice every time that happens. On Monday evening of this past week, a Jewish woman was attacked with rocks outside of Ramallah. So Palestinian Arabs were set up on the side of the road on Route 446, and they were throwing, which is close to the town of Nilim, next to Ramallah, and they were throwing rocks at Israeli cars on the road. And a woman was lightly injured from shrapnel, but she was able to drive safely to the Hasmonean checkpoint. Israel Gantz, who is the head of the Benjamin Regional Council, he spoke to the woman about who was injured. He said, quote, "The times when the citizens of the country go about their daily routine and are injured by enemies who try to kill us would pass from this world in a functioning country. The incoming government should have a policy of zero tolerance, starting with the first rock." Indeed, they should. Let's hope this government that will come in soon, hopefully, if negotiations work out, hopefully they need to have a policy of zero tolerance, even for rock throwers, because this is terrorism. We covered it on a show a few weeks ago, that rock throwings, it can be very dangerous. It's not just the rock throwings, because it can have after effects, side effects, which can cause accidents and be very deadly. Following the rock attack where this woman was injured, dozens of residents from towns in the Benjamin region in that area, they protested near the entrance to Nilim, where the terrorists came from. They demanded that the defense establishment take an approach of zero tolerance against the Arab terrorism that has been rampant in the area in recent times. Guys, we're going to talk about what's going on in the government right now. But first, we have a huge Black Friday sale going on right now. Guys, if you go to shop.theisraelguys.com or click the link in the description below, you'll see that we have tons of merch on our store, and it will be up to 80% off. Guys, this is a huge sale, huge opportunity that you do not want to miss. At the Israel Guys, we have t-shirts, hats, thermoses, books, jewelry, tons of stuff that you do not want to miss. Go to shop.theisraelguys.com or click the link in the description below. So yesterday, the Likud party, they released a partial list of their demands in the ongoing coalition negotiations. It's actually really exciting, good news if they go through with these demands that they are putting forth, because we know the rest of the parties in this coalition, they're religious parties, so hopefully they will agree with the Likud here. The demands include the legalization of the yeshivas of Homesh and Eviatar in Samaria, which would be absolutely phenomenal. These have been disputed settlements or yeshivas for a long time. Eviatar was actually founded about 7 years ago after a Jewish person named Eviatar was murdered. They responded by founding this settlement in honor of him. But then it was evacuated multiple times. And then this last year, there was a shooting at the Tepuach Junction in which Yehuda Guetta, he was on his way to yeshiva. He was sadly killed. And then they started up the yeshiva of Eviatar in response to this terror attack in memory of him. But it's not been legalized. So the demands of the Likud would actually legalize these yeshivas, which would be absolutely phenomenal. Also, other demands that they made would be stopping the illegal Palestinian Authority takeover of Judea and Samaria, which would be huge. There is a lot of that going on, not only in Area B, but also in Area C. They are taking a lot of land. They said that there are 15 new illegal houses being built every single week, which is absolutely crazy, and no one is talking about it. Also, the regulation of and connecting to the electrical grid of the young settlements and strengthening Jewish settlements in Judea and Samaria and throughout the country. So they're not demanding for annexation, but it's the next best thing that legalizing these settlements, also connecting the electricity to these young settlements, which would be amazing, maybe even the next step to annexation here in Judea and Samaria. Also, other demands would be to increase the salary of enlisted IDF soldiers by 20% and to ensure that soldiers in the last 6 months of their service would receive salaries which match the minimum wage. So It appeared that a compromise had been reached about who would receive the different ministerial positions that were being disputed before. This is basically what was holding the Netanyahu back from forming a coalition, from bringing a new government into the Knesset. So, as part of this compromise, Bezalel Smotrich, head of the religious Zionist party, would drop his demands for defense minister and receive the finance ministry, and then the Shah's chairman, Ari Deri, who has been demanding the finance ministry, would receive instead 3 positions: the interior ministry, the religious affairs ministry, and the Negev and Galilee ministries, which would be crazy for him to receive 3 ministries. So that looked like a compromise had been reached. But then just last night, on Tuesday night, the religious Zionism accused Likud of retracting all the previous agreements that had been reached in the coalition negotiations. They said, quote, "Unfortunately, the Likud tonight retracted the agreements reached last night and in essence returned the negotiations to the starting point." A source in the religious Zionist party told Israel National News that Likud's negotiating teams retracted not only the agreements regarding the positions and ministerial portfolios that would be given to the party, but also on ideological issues and matters related to Judea and Samaria that were before agreed upon. But the Likud said in response, quote, "Contrary to the announcement of the religious Zionist party, the Likud did not retract any agreement. It was agreed with Bezalel Smotrich that he would serve first as Minister of Finance in a rotation and receive the Ministry of Settlement Affairs and the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration. This is a fair agreement by all accounts, and the Likud stands behind it." At the same time, the Likud did not agree to comply with new demands made by Smotrich after the agreement was reached to remove a long list of departments from the other government ministries and transfer them to the Ministry of Finance as well. So it looks like right now all the negotiations that looked like were pushing forward and looked like they were gaining traction, looks like they might have all just been pushed back to ground zero, and they might be back where they started. But hopefully they will be able to reach agreement soon. They'll be able to form a coalition and to take place as the next government of Israel. So Iran is blaming Israel now for the assassination of one of its senior commanders. Imagine that. So Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps, known as the IRGC, they're claiming that Israel has assassinated an Iranian lieutenant colonel named Daoud Jafari. He served in the IRGC's Air and Space Force, and they said they used an explosive device near Damascus, Syria. According to the Iranians, Jafari was killed last Monday. The IRGC threatened to retaliate for the attack. A statement by the Revolutionary Guard said Jafari was an advisor of the Air Force and named agents of the Zionist entity as responsible for the attack. So we don't know right now if it was Israel or not. Probably was, but we're not for sure on this. Guys, make sure to check out our huge Black Friday sale right now at the shop.theisraelguys.com or click the link in the description below. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.